Good afternoon. I think it's time that we have a talk about denied roof claims. Has your claim been denied? Are you a contractor and one of your clients had a claim that's been denied? Well, great. You've come to the right video. We are going to talk turkey today about how to turn those zeros around, how to turn those goose eggs, those donuts, into approved claims. So there are a few tricks of the trade. Um, let's start off. Outright denial, no damage done. That's what one adjuster says. Well, what do? You nag the insurance company until they send out another adjuster. And the details of all of that will be something that we get into another day. Now, what more frequently occurs is that when somebody reports like storm damage or any sort of like weather related damage, a lot of the times the insurance carriers come out and they just tell it how it is. They say, oh yeah, there's 15 damaged shingles on your roof. That's what I spy. So you should just go ahead and fix those 15 damaged shingles. Now, there lies a big problem with that. It's doing that is generally just a band-aid for for the problem. It doesn't really fix things because then a couple of years later, the homeowner has damages in some other part of the roof, and they have to like file another claim again, or they have to hire a handyman to come in and just like do the repairs, and uh, and they have to do this year in, year out, like every couple of years, just repairing another part again and again, and ultimately they end up spending a lot of money that way. Or if they keep calling their insurance carrier, then the carrier ends up dropping them or raising their premium, something like that. So you really got to capitalize when you actually have like a claim on your hands. So let's say the carrier comes out and they say, okay, yep, we spotted 20 damaged shingles, but this work is only $1,000. You have a $5,000 deductible, so you don't have a claim. What you need to do is prove that the roof is entirely needs to be fully replaced. So one way to do this is you prove that the shingles that are currently on the roof, the product that's on the roof, um, is irreplaceable, and as a result of that, you have to replace it with a new product because like matches like. The roofs they generally have to match. In most states, that's a guideline. You got to build to match. You got to have the right components. You can't just start mixing shingles from one brand with another. Like they just don't fit. You have different nuances that'll make it a shaky product. So if you're able to prove that the product is discontinued, or as some people say, disco, then then the carrier will generally agree to turn that repair claim, even if it is a zero sum repair claim, into a full replacement, which the carrier ends up issuing proceeds for. So that's one way. I've used it a couple of times in my life. I actually used that method to get my parents' roof bought. So that was a good time, and that's a story for another day. Now, another method to use, and this one is my favorite, my most frequently used method, actually. It's a little bit of a trade secret, so is the brittle test. Now, what the brittle test establishes is repairability or lack of repairability for their better off. And I like to lean towards lack of repairability. That's what I'm hoping to find when I do a brittle test, obviously. But here's the thing about it, right? Like you need to proceed gently. Um, in the sense that some people could like eat up the insurance carriers, like you get an estimate with like X amount of shingles for replacement, then somebody could like go on and do the entire replace could do the entire repair, and invoice the carrier, but then say, hey, like this roof was actually irreparable. There's still, there's still damage here. Doing this repair caused a whole bunch of damage. So not only do you need to pay for, not only does the carrier need to pay for like the repair that they have prescribed, they need to pay for like the full replacement after that. Now, I like to cut that corner out. It's a shortcut for everyone. It saves everyone time and money. And what I do is I will just emulate the repair on like one or two shingles. And I do this with photos. While I'm doing it, I show that the roof is being damaged by doing the repair. Um, and there's like a whole mechanism to that because you basically have to like lift the shingle above the one that you're actually repairing in order to like detach it and put a new one in. And so if the one above it is getting damaged, then well, you have to pull that one out. And then you have to pull the next one out, and so on and so on. Before you know it, you're repairing, replacing the entire roof anyway. So that's the whole premise behind the brittle test. They work like a charm. Most carriers take before and after photos, but there are a couple of big dogs in the industry that like require for you to put a whole show on. You got to like record the whole thing, and um, and that's kind of like tough to do if you're running solo. I've pulled it off before, but it's much easier, much more fun when you actually have somebody up there with you. So that's like that mechanism. Um, Something I forgot to mention before, back to like the whole disco thing, is well, you need to pull off that shingle off the roof and you need to put something else back in. So usually it's going to be a tarp, some sort of like temporary coverage that you're going to put in there. You don't want to like put in another shingle, um, even if you think it might fit or it's like close enough, because you're kind of contradicting yourself by doing that. Like, hey, I could temporarily repair this roof with this shingle. No, like it either fits or it doesn't. So, like, don't do that. Go for the tarp. You could invoice the carrier, like, for the lab fees of like sending in the product to the companies that determine like the status of these products about like whether they're discontinued or whatnot. And I'm not going to like promote any companies here. I'm just going to say, there's a couple of them that are out there. So like they'll pay you for that. They'll pay you for the like for the temporary repair, temporary easement that you're putting on there, such as a tarp. And yeah, so that's just like a little bit of extra, like well deserved chunk. You don't want to be leaving money on the table, but you also don't want to be pillaging and pilfering these carriers either. Like, no matter how mad you are at them, right? Like, no matter how many times you've seen them push people around who you don't think should have been pushed around. Like, no, take it easy on them. Don't get greedy. Otherwise, you're gonna break the game, and like you may as well want to be. You may as well be one of the snakes in the farm. Ain't that right, Jake? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, like that's pretty much it. Brittle tests are a game changer. Out of like these three mechanisms that I gave you, the best outcome I ever had was actually from simply asking the carrier to send out a new adjuster. So I one day I was looking at this big neighborhood that just like every home in there had a roof that was like at least 50 squares. And I was getting off of this a prospective client's roof, like doing I was actually meeting with an adjuster that day. And when I got down, his neighbor was there and he had his paperwork handy. And he just like approached me and began to speak to me. And he had a claim that had been denied. It was like $2,000 of damage. He had a $7,000 deductible. And I looked at it and I said, "Oh yeah, like I know that adjuster. He's a tough cookie. Like he has a reputation. So let's get you a new one out here." And it had been long enough. It had been a few months. So we go under contract. He calls up his carrier. We he gets a new inspection set up, and yeah, and this new guy came out. He inspected the roof. Um, the major turning point was this: it was a three-story house, and it was an 11 pitch. So like there was no way the adjuster was getting up there, and I wasn't getting up there either. I tried to get one of the ballsy guys in the company to like go up there, but he like he didn't really do the job. He just kind of like went around the eaves and like didn't even set foot on the roof. Like why'd I even bring this guy? But the turning point was this adjuster comes out and he brought a crane with him. I think this guy just wanted to have his fun in the field, but he brought out like a crane and he got up on it so that he could like elevate himself up onto the roof. He wasn't gonna walk it either. He was just gonna get as close as he can. And he actually ended up like completely destroying the not completely, but he messed up a couple of shingles. And as soon as he did that, like I knew that roof was getting bought. And like this claim went from being a $2,000 claim that wasn't being paid into a $103,000 claim. Because after we got the roof, like he had solar panels on there, there were like 80 of them total, and like those things are expensive. And and then like once there was an admittance to that damage, like we had gutters, there was siding, a cupola, which is like a gazebo for those of you that don't know, like made out of copper. Um, yeah, just it ended up being like seven trades in like in this claim, and it was pretty awesome. Needless to say, my client was like really happy about the entire outcome. Like even asked me like when he saw what I was doing for him, like how I was able to get this claim turned around, like how just like the steps I said that we needed to take like would actually work. He began to ask me like, well, what about like my window screens? Oh, you got those? How about my pool? I don't like my pool. It got damaged like last season. And yeah, like actually got him his pool done. I know nothing about pools, but I got the pool bought and then I like hired his pool company to come out and do the work. So like it all panned out. Everything was great. When all was said and done, well, before he had like the pool completely finished, there was an alligator in there. There was a baby alligator. He named the alligator after me. Um, and yeah, that was like a great time. And it's the stories like that, which the instances like that, which really put the fire in my heart when I go to work and I go hard on and give it my all and sometimes get lost in the sauce and then I go hard off. I'm like very seasonal and like get into other things. Just like poker, my heart outside of work and like religion and stuff, just like connecting with the almighty powers that that be that are vested in all of us. So that's really it. As much as I just like restoration work. That's it in the end of the day. So whether it's like the residential stuff, um, or doing something that has like some history behind it, like I'm all about it. But in the end of the day, you could throw me like all the like big historic jobs in the world, and I won't forget about the homeowners. Those are like the most important people in this thing. They always need to be nurtured. You got to take care of your flock, and and you got to maintain a flock. Even if some of the sheep run away, you got to find some new ones. All right, but like you know, no matter how much you think you could get, like I think I could get off of like this historic build or like a commercial job or whatever. It's really all about the homeowners in the end of the day. That's the fire and the flame, the passion in this space, and yeah, that's really it. Thanks for dropping in and listening to me rant about brittle tests and turning those denials into approvals. Cheers.